Hey, what's up? This is Basil Barrington, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Behind the Groove podcast. Today, we are interviewing Clifton, DJ Soft Touch Weaver. He is out of California. He is a DJ. He is also a musician. We had a very interesting conversation. So without further ado, let's check it out.
Out here in LA for a long time, there was, pretty healthy, vibrant scene, and everyone just dressed up. It was like, everyone was wearing tailored suits and, trying to, for every club, people were like getting new outfits and, that was what it was about. Everything was about dressing up and, a little bit of like kind of one-upmanship, trying to dress better than everybody else. And so that's how that kind of started. And that look is kind of stuck with me.
Right. So let's get this started, man. So just give me some background on who you are, where you're from, what's going on.
All right. Clifton James Weaver III, or, also known as DJ Soft Touch. Was born in St. Louis, Missouri, but raised out here in Southern California, mostly in Long Beach. That's where I grew up. From, always loved music. My parents would tell me, even when I was a little baby, I'd, get obsessed with certain songs and ask them to play those songs over and over again. And, they're the ones that gave me my first record. The first record I ever owned, rather, was an Ohio Players record, because I was obsessed with the song Fire. And I would ask them to play it for me so much that they just bought me a little portable turntable and my own copy of the record. And, and it's just, I guess it just kind of started from there.
Let me ask you something. Do you remember the type of turntable they bought you? Was it a Technique 1200 or was it something?
Oh, no. It was a little like kind of toy turntable for kids. It was like from Sears.
Okay.
And I remember it was, the outside was covered in denim.
Oh, really?
Or it was made to look like denim. I can't remember if it was denim or if it was made to look like denim. And I remember when you opened it up, the inside of the lid looked like it had like a pocket,
right?
Like a back pocket from a jean.
Wow.
On the inside. So it was like a little toy turntable, but for like a little 3-4-year-old, it was great.
It's pretty cool, huh? And you played that one record like until all the grooves were like just completely worn out.
Pretty much, yeah. That was the first record I got, and I think my second record was probably like Michael Jackson, Off the Wall.
Okay.
And then after that was some Disney records until Thriller came out.
Okay. So did you come from a musical background? Like, were your parents musical, aunts, uncles?
A lot of people in my family were kind of like hobbyists. I can remember, going to aunts and uncles' houses where they'd have like, pianos. My mom's brother, played bass. My dad was like a semi-professional dancer for like, groups and stuff in the 60s. But, no one in my immediate family were musicians. But there's always lots of music around.
Oh, okay. All right. So let me ask you this. Okay. So how did you actually get into the whole DJ game?
It was something I just kind of fell into. I was playing in a band, and the band I was in had gotten pretty popular around LA. And a lot of times, we gotten pretty popular around LA, and kind of Southern California in general. And then we had a residency at this club in Long Beach, and we were supposed to just play for like 4 Mondays or Sundays. And the name of the night was Get Ready. And we were kind of like a 60s garage rock band. And it was kind of like a 60-ish modish kind of club. And so we were supposed to play the band that opened up the night, and then there'd be DJs for the rest of the night. But the main promoter, who's also going to be one of the main DJs, he didn't like DJing until he felt there's enough people in the club. So he would just put a record on with the whole side play, or just let it be the jukebox until he thought enough people were inside the building for him to start playing. Happening and leave. I wanted there to be people there to see my band play. So for the second night, I had asked him, I'm like, hey, would you mind if I brought some records, and I'll just play records. So at the very least, when people walk in, they see someone in the DJ booth,
Right.
and they know that there's a night happening. And he's like, yeah, fine. If you want to, play to an empty room, go for it. So I just started bringing my records, and I would, after the band had set up and sound checked, I would start playing. And yeah, the band residency there we just became kind of like the band for the night. And so the night went on for like maybe 3 or 4 months. But from doing that, a lot of people heard me DJ.
Okay.
And so when the band would play other places, they would say, hey, if you want to bring records to DJ, feel free. So then I would bring records, and I would, be like a guest DJ at our shows. And then once the band broke up, people kept asking me to DJ. So it just kind of, grew from that.
That's pretty cool. So because you were in this band that was like sort of a 60s mod, your vinyl collection, I mean, when you bought vinyl back then, you were basically digging in the crates for 60s and,
Yeah, I was buying
like that?
60s garage, a lot of northern soul kind of stuff, which does northern soul, because it's kind of a broad term. It covered a lot of stuff that was 60s, but also 70s and some 80s. I was also very much into Britpop and indie rock at the time as well. So I was buying that. Bought a lot of funk. And but then also I started going out to a lot of other types of nights, because around that time you started having nights that were dedicated to funk and soul, but like in a broader sense than just like northern soul or 60s kind of soul. So then I started getting exposed more to like disco kind of sounds, 80s boogie funk kind of stuff. So that started being an influence as well. And started buying that stuff. But yeah, when I first started DJing, I actually got a lot of records from my dad's record collection, because I was just I didn't have like a ton of vinyl at the time, but I had I went and got some stuff from him, and then started trying to make sets work.
Right. Now, so do you sort of venture into other genres such as maybe house, deep house, anything like that, maybe hip hop, R&B, new disco? I know you said indie rock. What about indie dance?
Oh yeah, I absolutely. In fact, one of the very first nights I started doing in LA was with a friend of mine. Actually, the friend who gave me the name DJ Soft Touch. Yeah, we were trying to do this night at the Beauty Bar in Hollywood when that was around, and we were trying to make it a mix of a lot of different styles, because yeah, we were both really heavily into like that whole DFA kind of sound, where it was like kind of a mix of like rock and dance music. And so we just thought, oh, it'd be cool to do a night that kind of, connected the dots for people between like punk rock and dance music. And we called the night Disco Demolition. And
Disco
we were,
Demolition, okay.
So yeah, we were, so at around that time, I started buying a lot of indie dance. I had gotten, musically had grown where, I was still into funk and soul, everything I was into before, but then I was like, buying, more punk and dance. I didn't get super into deep house, but, I started listening to it a lot. And the way a lot of those DJ became like a big influence on me, because I really liked the way everything sounded so seamless.
Right.
And, even with different styles of music now, I always try to, keep something of like that seamless feel to it, whether it's like the tempos or the keys of the song, or, just trying to make everything mesh and blend in a certain way, even when going from different styles, try to make it, blend like a house DJ would or a disco DJ would.
Right. Because, that can be somewhat difficult. Well, I'm not going to say difficult, but, if you take music from the 60s, there wasn't really, the DJs, they were not doing any sort of beat matching.
None, yeah.
So us today, we can take that music and sort of put it together and create a journey, even though we may not beat match, but we can transition from one into the other that makes it feel and sound seamless.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Even, like you said, especially because of how songs were recorded in the 60s into the 70s, sometimes it might be hard to do like a scene. Yeah, there's still ways you can make it feel seamless.
Right.
And like you said, the journey. I'm always, when I do DJ, especially, when there is an opportunity to DJ to like a crowd,
Right.
unlike now, but when you're in a club, you can look at the crowd and read the people, and it's like for me at least, I'm always thinking of like the journey. If we start here, where do we want to take this, and how do we get there? And
Right.
because when I first started DJing, I remember like I used to write out my sets and just play what was written
Oh,
down.
really?
Because I didn't know any better. I didn't know what DJs did. I didn't really know any,
Okay.
real DJs. It's just, I'm like, okay, this is what I'll do. It's kind of like I only had the experience of being in a band. And in a band, you write a set list. So I was like, okay,
Right.
these are the records I'm going to play, and this is the order I'm going to play them in.
Right.
And I can just remember like just watching the dance floor die, and I'm like, oh my God, what do I do?
You're right,
And
exactly. It's
so
so
then I had to
weird.
learn how to kind of read the crowd and just make it up on the spot.
Yeah. It's so weird. We used to just put the vinyl in all order, and
Yeah,
then, in the secondary crate would be just, bangers. So if something went wrong, we can always just throw on something that would just, rock out the dance floor. But
yeah.
we all had as DJs, your first sort of like promotion or your residency was generally a bomb.
Yeah.
I mean, did you have a bomb situation, when you were first coming up?
Well, yeah. I mean, like I said, like the very first time I started DJing was when my band had a residency, and so like that night was very sparsely attended. Even though a couple times, you could get people, we would get a kind of a crowd out, and they would kind of dance. It wasn't like a very successful night. And then the next time I had like a DJ residency was when I was doing the night Disco Demolition
Mhm.
in Hollywood at the Beauty Bar. And yeah, the first couple ones were really, really good, but then it just kind of died out pretty quickly because at that time it was the Beauty Bar was on Cahuenga Boulevard. That whole area of Hollywood had just gotten really hot.
Mm.
And so everyone was opening up bars left and right.
Right.
So our first couple ones were really good. Then all of a sudden all these other bars started opening up. And then now it's like all this competition. And then our night just kind of, fizzled out like after, I think maybe we were there for 9 months, 10
Oh,
months.
that's
And
pretty
it
good.
kind of fizzled out.
Hmm.
But then, you know, I've always had, I find like I've always had a lot of luck with, or being, being part of like a team of DJs. Cause after that, I was invited to be a part of another kind of night that was a mix of like soul, indie rock, indie dance, night called Transistor that was in Chinatown out here in LA. And that was like a really successful night that ran for years. And then I was a part of another indie rock night called Club Underground that's really successful. That was really successful, and it's still going on. Like I think they're like on their 20 years now.
Really?
Yeah. And
Wow.
then for a good 11 or 12 years, I was part of a night called Funky Soul, which is
Now
still
that's
going
the
on.
one we full disclosure, we wrote we did an interview with you back in 2011.
Yes.
And we posted that to the crossfadr.com website, and that was your residency, Funky. So it looks so, I mean, just the pictures and everything I spoke to Alex about, I mean, it sounded like it was just one of the coolest things to do that night.
Yeah, and it's still going strong, and yeah, it that night was amazing. I wasn't one of the original DJs, but I was brought in when they had some other DJ lineup changes, and yeah, and it was amazing, and it's still a very popular night and very successful, and it's incredible that you could see you know young people, people barely, some of them barely 21,
Right.
and they're really, really excited and into this music from like at Funky Soul, we played everything from the 50s up till now.
Wow.
You know, I mean, with the focus on being like that retro funk sound,
Mhm.
but anything that had that sound, and oftentimes too a lot of hip hop stuff that sampled,
Right.
classic soul and funk records.
Hmm.
We would play those records too, and then also something I picked up when I was just an attendee at Funky Soul was like kind of like late night. They would really stretch it out. Um, at the time when I first started going to Funky Soul, Egon, who at the time was part of Stone's Throw and now has his own label now again, Egon was a resident there, Cut Chemist was a resident there, and then the other DJ, Music Man Miles from the Breakestra. And what they would do late night, they would really go out there, playing stuff from, Bollywood records or, Turkish records,
right?
Some kind of, super rare Afrobeat, Afro funk stuff. And that made like a really big impression on me, so that, to this day, when I'm out DJing, like I said, like, the journey is what's important. And I always try to find a way to like go out as far as possible, because in a way, you kind of get a chance to like introduce people to a new sound and maybe prime them to be really into something else.
Right.
It's just like that thing where, when you're trying to break in a new song, you kind of stick it in between a couple popular songs, and over time people get used to that song, and then that becomes the popular song. So I always try to like, throw something way out there and hope that, it works, and when it does, then you can kind of do that more and more and more till like you get people used to the idea of, dancing to something that they don't know, but like they're into the vibe, they're into the sound and feel of the music, and it doesn't have to be, a big pop hit or something that they know the lyrics to.
Now, it's so you speak about a band you were in, or maybe even multiple bands. Are you in a band now?
Yeah, I'm currently in a band. We're called the Mercury Wheel.
Okay.
And so with this band, I've kind of gone back to some of my original influences, where it's very much 60s garage rock and soul influence. After my first band, we were called the Mojo Filters. I played in a bunch of other bands. I was in a band called the Belle Isle for a minute, where it was very much almost like a mellow country-ish rock kind of thing, where I played bass in all these other bands. And so that was kind of like a mellowish, almost country-ish rock kind of vibe. And then after that, I was in another band called Love Grenades, which is very much kind of like an indie pop, indie dance kind of thing. Then I tried to do my own band. This was my first attempt at doing my own band was a group called Stereo Action Unlimited, where I was influenced by kind of like jazz pop and kind of stuff like that. And now this is me going back to more like 60s kind of garage rock, because it's a 3-piece, and unlike other bands, I'm fronting it and I'm playing guitar and I'm singing. And
right. I saw some videos of that. It kind of reminds me, it's a mixture of and forgive me if this may be offending, but if it's offensive, but it sounds like a mix between Butthole Surfers, Love and Rockets, Bad Brains.
I hadn't thought of that, but I mean, I certainly like all those bands. So
you got all Bad Brains, right?
Yeah. No, actually, I remember I saw a version of Bad Brains when they're called Soul Brains. I saw them play like sometime in the late 90s.
Yeah. And the Butthole Surfers were just awesome,
Yeah.
So it's just, it kind of feels like that like early 80s punk rock.
Okay. Yeah, well, that's definitely an influence too, because I love stuff punk stuff. Well, I mean mainly like UK punk stuff, but like the Jam and Clash, Buzzcocks. So,
Clash
I love like that energy of punk rock, and like a lot of the punks, a lot of punk stuff very much is like kind of classic pop songwriting that I really like as well.
Yeah, exactly. So do you spend mostly vinyl, or you do digital as well?
Mostly vinyl, but I do use digital. I had a residency at a spot in West Hollywood called Employees Only, where I used digital because their emphasis was very much on contemporary music, and a lot of new disco sounds, and a lot of new disco mixed with like kind of like 90s R&B and some hip hop stuff. So for that, digital was definitely useful. And then whenever I do like private events, like weddings or corporate events, digital also helps.
Yeah,
because it helps just to have like a bigger library of music available, and you can kind of
Exactly.
field more requests. And yeah.
Right. You I saw this video where it was almost like a promotional video of what you guys were doing at Echo, and they had you, and you had this record case that was just bananas. It was like leather, and you had a bunch of 12 inches and 45s in it. That thing was I was like, where did he get that from? It was like
Oh, okay. I know what
and I
video you're
don't
talking.
even think it was I don't even think it was meant to be a record case.
Was it like it was like a wood? It was like a little wood box.
Yeah, right.
Okay. I had gotten that from Turntable Lab
In
when
New York.
there used to be a Turntable Lab. They had a store on Fairfax
Okay.
out here in LA for
Mhm.
a while. And I remember walking in there and seeing like this wood box there, and I'm like, "Oh my God, this is the most beautiful record box I've ever seen."
Pretty awesome, right?
So
Is
yeah,
that box pretty heavy, like without vinyl?
the wood record box, no, the Odyssey. Are you talking about like the Odyssey 45 case? Because I know that I had a long. I think in that video too, there was like a long Odyssey.
Yeah, no, it
45.
wasn't Odyssey because Odyssey is pretty standard. No,
Yeah.
this looked pretty. It looked like it was a custom piece.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It wasn't custom, but yeah, they were kind of rare. Cause I remember like Turntable Lab were selling out of them really fast, and I was like,
Right.
I got to get one before they go.
Mhm.
No, it wasn't too heavy. It was kind of fragile because I remember I dropped it once and it cracked, and I was like, oh.
Wow.
But
Okay.
yeah, it was. Yeah, it was just like I saw it and I was like, this is beautiful. And at the time too, I had like these two wood 45 adapters, and I was like, this is perfect. Wood 45 case and
Right.
wood 45 adapters. And
So most of the 50s songs, if you were playing songs from the 50s, they were like 78, right?
well, no, there's there's 45s.
45s, okay.
A lot of stuff like on King Records, and a lot of
Mhm.
R&B kind of stuff from the 50s came on 45s as well.
Okay. So you've been digging in the crates for like a really long time. How large is your vinyl collection?
I haven't actually counted.
Mhm.
It's nowhere near as large as like some people think, because I had, not having unlimited funds, I've always had to kind of really focus in on,
Right.
certain things. But LPs and 45s included, I don't know. I mean, I'm probably well past 1,200, maybe 1,500
That's pretty good.
pieces of vinyl, maybe
Mhm.
more.
Yeah.
I know I have to sit down and count it. That's my like kind of conservative estimate. It would be like 1,500 pieces, but
Right. Mm-hmm.
who knows? Like, behind all these records
Our records?
are like more records. Like,
Okay. Right.
yeah.
Okay. That's pretty cool.
So it,
That's pretty cool.
yeah,
I was I saw someone with I know people, other DJs with like huge vinyl collections, like in the thousands, like 5,
yeah,
10,000, and I'm just like, I may have like just maybe 1,000, 2,000 here. But then when you go into their, studios and you see all these records, I'm just like, wow, this guy's just been like
yeah.
forever.
There's people I know. Well, like I said, knowing, from the early days of Funky Soul, Egon, Cut Chemist, those guys, they had like huge storage units
Right.
just full of records.
Right.
And then another friend of mine who actually used to DJ at Funky Soul as well, this guy Renato, he had just basically covered his whole apartment, had turned into his vinyl storage, where he had shelves up in his kitchen, in his restaurant, in his bathroom. He had shelves up. It was just
Wow.
records everywhere, and I'm like, but yeah, for me, even though I have like I have pretty broad listening tastes, I've always been like, had to be more selective,
Right.
and now a lot of that just started out because of, budget.
Mhm.
And then now I feel like, I'd rather just have like a really, really good record collection where I can just pull any record off the shelf and it'd be great.
Right. Mhm.
Whereas like, I know a lot of people who have like the bigger collections, it's because, okay, there's a one drum break on this record,
Yeah.
and that's why they have that one record.
Right.
Or, there's, for one, for like a, 10-second drum break or something, it's not like the whole record's good, or like
Yeah.
you're into any of the songs. It's, more for sampling purposes maybe, or just
Right. Exactly.
like just to say they own that break.
Yeah, a lot of the hip hop DJs, like, they have like records like that. It's just like a break in the middle of a track, and it's just
Yeah.
like that's what I'm using. So you're a DJ and a musician, so you have a recording studio, I would imagine.
Well, not so much a recording studio, but I do have a rehearsal space,
Mhm.
lockout space that I rent in LA, and I
Okay.
have like most of my gear there,
Mhm. So what
and
sort of gear do you have in your studio?
um, well, turntables. I use actually I'm using like the Pioneer turntables, and then the
Oh, the
S9.
PLX 1000s.
Yeah, the 1000s.
So what do you
Yeah,
think about those?
I like them. I
Mhm.
know, I mean, obviously, techniques are the standard, but I do like the PLX 1000. I like that they're a little heavier, so they absorb the vibrations a little bit better.
Mhm.
Yeah, I've never come across any problems with them or any issues with them. I'm not like a crazy turntabler, so I wouldn't. I know some people have complained, have said something about like the torque and the stuff not being exactly the same as a 1200, but yeah, I like them. They're
Mhm.
and a lot of the places I DJ'd at have them, so it was easy. It's just to me they're comfortable.
Right. The actually the torque is like that's a heavier motor, a faster motor, more powerful motor than the 1200s.
Oh, really? Yeah,
Yeah. So
I
the
hadn't gotten
torque
too
is
much
like
to.
the torque is like a lot better. But isn't the pitch a digital pitch?
Um, I wasn't. I didn't get that deep into like the
Yeah.
into it, but
Hmm.
um, I haven't. You know what? I hadn't really thought about it, but now that I think about it, it probably is because it's more. I feel like it's more accurate, and it doesn't. I know with the techniques because at Funky Soul we use the techniques. After a while when the pitch starts going, you can really really hear it,
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
yeah, you don't hear it. Yeah, now that you mentioned that it's a digital pitch, I'm like that makes sense because I don't hear it.
You may
Even
start
if the pitch
hearing
is a
it, but
little off.
now, you may start saying, "Oh, that's the digital pitch." I know what you're saying. Like the technique, sometimes it slips a little bit.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, definitely.
Weird.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and you can hear it. You can really hear it when it slips
Yeah,
on, a, on the techniques. And now, yeah, now that makes sense that it'd be a digital pitch. And
that is the only thing that is not analog on a PLX 1000. It's the pitch control.
oh, okay.
Another awesome turntable that's almost exactly like the 1200s are the Reloop RP7000 MX1 or MX2. You know,
Oh, okay.
yeah, that's like a
Yeah.
$500 turntable. They come in black, silver, and they're pretty tight. I have the Mark Ones, the first version, and they are really tight. I'm really impressed with them. They're not as strong, as the PLX 1000. They are stronger. The torque is a lot higher in that reloop than it is in the technique. Um, yeah, it's a very interesting turntable. You can't buy. I mean, you can buy used techniques, but who's buying the brand new techniques? They're like just crazy expensive.
Yeah, I know. I saw that when they came back. I'm like, oh my god, they're out of their minds. They're trying to charge this much money for a turntable.
The audio files.
Yeah, I almost feel like maybe they thought that. I mean, I don't know. I probably shouldn't assume, but it almost feels like they decided to end it to kind of make people want it more,
Yeah, they were
almost as
saying.
a marketing ploy.
Right. They were saying that there were like certain parts
Yeah,
that they just could not find anymore. But then you have all these
yeah,
OEM, brands like Reloop, Newmark, Stanton, everyone's using Audio Technica, everyone's using that sort of standard. Um,
yeah,
but the PLX 1000s, they made that on their own. That's not an OEM manufacturer, that's just like their piece, with just a digital pitch. It's pretty cool.
huh. Yeah.
Hmm.
But yeah, yeah. It's, like you said, I can't imagine anyone buying new techniques. It's just
It's pretty. What
price
sort of
prohibitive.
mixer do you have? DJ mixer.
The S9.
S9. Okay, very good.
Yeah.
So if you had to if there was one piece of gear in your studio you couldn't live without, what would it be?
Um, Well, I mean, DJ wise, the mixer. I
Mm.
mean, the S9 is just it's a great mixer. I love like the magnetic crossfader and uh musician wise, um Roland Space Echo pedal that I have. It's like a pedal that replicates the Roland Space Echo.
Right. My
Yeah,
friend,
those.
I have a friend who has that. He actually uses it, like he connects it to his DJ rig.
Oh, really?
So yeah,
Yeah,
a lot of DJs like use pedals to create effects.
yeah. No, I was gonna say I
Mhm.
it's something I've always thought about fooling around with.
Yeah.
Um, when I was at Funky Soul, so for, like, for the anniversary parties, a lot of times Cut Chemist would come through and do like a surprise set.
Mhm.
And one time, he came through and he did a one turntable set
Oh, really?
where he had one turntable going to like a loop pedal, and then to also to like a delay pedal and all that stuff. And then he was just taking 45s and he was basically sampling them and looping them, and then layering and then recreating hip hop samples 145 at a time.
Oh my goodness, that must have been so
Yeah,
sick.
yeah. I was like watching it. I was like, oh my god. And I'm like, because at the time I had never thought of, wow, you can run like your DJ setup through like all these crazy guitar pedals
Yeah.
and do something like that. But yeah, and then I saw it. I was like, oh, I would, it was something I was like, oh, I would love to fool around with this. But at the same time, I was like, he had just finished doing a whole tour like that, and I was like, okay, that's his thing there now. It's like if I do that, then it's like obviously that I saw that and I'm trying to,
Mhm.
I wouldn't want to seem like I was trying to like bite his
Right.
thing. But
Right.
yeah,
Exactly.
it was amazing to watch, and I was like, it'd be cool to try it out sometime.
Now, are you a full-time DJ musician or?
Yeah, I've been very fortunate that for the last 10 years or so I've been able to do it full time. I started back in 2001,
Mhm.
but that's like when I was still mainly in bands and just DJing here and there. Um, but yeah, for the last 10 years, I've been very fortunate that I've been able to do it full time. I've always had different nights between like my residencies and guest DJing places. I was DJing 4 to 6 nights a week.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's full time.
Yeah. So like I said, this whole thing, it's like, okay, it's a nice little vacation, but
Right.
I'm hoping at some point, things can kind of get back to normal.
Yeah, that's a good segue. So because now you're full time, um, we're in the middle of this lockdown. So how is that affecting like you as a DJ musician? I mean, that has to, what's going on with that?
Yeah, a long time ago, and I'm not sure if they're trying to give me friendly advice or they're kind of trying to be a hater, but somebody said, "Oh, it won't last forever." So
Mhm.
I was fortunate that like I kind of saved some money for a rainy day because I'm like, okay, this probably won't last forever, but let's see how long it can go.
Mhm.
So I had some money saved, and but yeah, it's things have slowed down, so I'm not able to have to tighten your belt a bit. And then in terms of trying to still kind of bring some income in, I've been fortunate that some of the people that have booked me for gigs at other places, they're doing streaming sets, like some of the hotels
Right.
and like restaurants and stuff that are still trying to maintain their online presence.
Mhm.
They're booking DJs to do streaming sets and paying them. And then like also, I've seen friends who have club nights continue the club nights and they have like Venmo links.
Mhm.
And so, there's ways, I guess, right now to still kind of try to monetize it.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know how long this can all last because for the most part, get paid get paid either percentages of the bar or what a bar brings in
Right.
is
Mhm.
is,
Yeah,
is
so
what pays us.
it's weird because I mean, things are starting to reopen, but we still have this social distancing when it comes to workout facilities like gyms,
Yeah.
bars, restaurants, clubs. You know, I mean, for me, I kind of feel like the bar club game, I mean, it's definitely the club, you know. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know. I mean, what do you think about that? You think that's like a month out, a few months out? How are we
I,
opening up here?
I've been reading that it's probably a year away.
Wow.
Probably, yeah. Like we won't see anything resembling a normal club or musical performance till like 2021. Because I mean, by that point, you definitely need to have. I mean, unless you're gonna, reduce the capacity by like 50% or more, you're gonna have people sharing space, sharing air. So
Yeah.
there would need to be a vaccine. So until there's a vaccine,
Right.
but that's what, like I said, that's what I'm hearing. I think it's going, who knows, even if there is a vaccine, probably, people probably will be very uncomfortable,
Right.
being, after being, day after day, we getting all this news about like how many people are sick and, passing away. And I think people will probably be kind of hesitant at first to put themselves into like a super crowded space.
Right. You know.
Uh, I don't know. I was talking to someone about this a couple of days ago. And I think, even if they do reduce the capacity, so there's more space between people, in a way, it's gonna kill the energy, that used to be present in clubs. Because there'd be nights where you have like a packed dance floor where
Yeah.
you can barely walk through it, and there's just so much energy, and everyone's
Mhm.
just really just going for it on the dance floor.
Right.
I think all that's going to change, and I don't know. I can almost see clubs and bars becoming like this super elite exclusive thing, because the only way the bars will be able to make enough money is to like up their prices or charge
Right.
insane cover prices.
Right.
And the only
So
people that will be able to afford that will be like, these really wealthy people who will be able to pay to have this, where even socializing becomes like this super elite experience that only the wealthy will be able to pay for.
yeah.
And but at the same time, I don't think it'll have nearly the energy. It'll be just
Yeah.
a bunch of people in a room that have the money to be in the room,
Yeah.
and things become like almost like listening parties.
It's weird because when you go to a club, when you go to even a small lounge that has like a little dance floor, anything like that, um, just the crowds, the heat, the steam,
Yeah,
just the whole vibe of it. It's just all of those elements that just they all come together and creates just something special. And I don't know if that's gonna happen. To be
yeah,
honest with you.
yeah, absolutely. And part of the reason too, I mentioned it becoming like this elite kind of experience. One of the things that I always really love about the kind of the club experience is that it kind of brings together people from all different types of backgrounds.
Mhm.
Know, um, like on some of the funky soul nights, I remember seeing like there'd be like celebrities on the floor sitting there dancing, just next to like your average everyday person who just got off of work.
Wow.
And you know it's a really kind of special experience. I think oftentimes people write off clubs and the whole that whole experience as, oh, it's just people there to get drunk and hook up with someone.
Right. Exactly.
Really special because it does really kind of bring together people from all different kind of backgrounds. And yeah, it's gonna, I think, until there's a way that you can really bring that back, it's going to become like this kind of super elite exclusive experience. And yeah, the energy and the vibe of the whole thing will change,
Wow.
probably not
Let's
for the better.
let's hope it doesn't get that way.
Yeah,
Because we're on lockdown, the whole DJ game. Oh, and forget about the festival DJs. That's just over.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I see a lot of kind of like festivals trying to do online stuff, and then I've seen a couple people. Well, I had a friend who tried to do like a drive-in kind of
Mhm.
event where it's everyone's in their
Right.
cars, but with DJs. And I mean, it looks cool, but yeah, again, kind of like a club. A festival has like its own kind of energy, and
Yeah.
and that's kind of dependent on people being next to each other, and
Right. Right. Right.
yeah, that what you get from that kind of like close proximity and the energy that's created.
So we're live streaming now. So I mean, that's the only thing we have, right?
Yeah.
So what do you think about the live streaming game for DJs?
It's I mean, I have a couple different thoughts. Where in terms of either building or maintaining an audience, live streaming it definitely helps. For certain DJs, I can see, like I know for me, since I'm not like a crazy turntablist or anything,
Mhm.
there is a certain kind of for me, since I don't have that as a way to lure people in, I find myself going, either even deeper into my collection, playing stuff that maybe would be too risky to play for like a dance floor. So
Oh, I see what you. Oh, okay. I see what you
so yeah,
mean.
my
Right,
thing now, okay, here's something super rare that's cool. I hope you
right,
can
right.
get into it.
You can be a bit more
And,
educational with your
yeah,
selection. You know.
yeah, and like
Mhm.
one of the sets I did was for a hotel called Villa Carlotta, where it was actually more play a record and talk about it.
Mhm.
So that's kind of like the angle they were going for. I was doing a live streaming event called Distant Disco, where it was definitely more of a dance vibe,
Mhm.
and that was actually pretty cool to run the audio, so you got like a better audio signal. But that was almost like being in a club, because they were encouraging people to dance in their
Mhm.
house, and they were sending out disco. The people who were behind Distant Disco, they were sending out disco lights to people. So that people would have lights in their house,
Virtually,
in their
or
rooms
just
or
like
whatever.
physically, they were sending out lights.
Yeah, they were sending
Like
out
mailing, they were mailing lights to people.
yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
wow.
it was something like the first 150 people that
Mhm.
RSVP'd to it, they sent them lights.
You've got
And
to
so
be
they have,
creative in this game today, huh? Definitely
yeah,
on lockdown and COVID, right?
yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like you said, like the whole live streaming thing, I think, so now it's not just DJing. I mean, even though, doing a successful club night always, every successful club I've ever been a part of always had some visual aspect to it. But now, I'm seeing people getting really creative with like what they're doing visually.
Mhm.
It's not just using your webcam to show people your turntables and DJing. There's people I know, like one of my favorite nights out here in LA is the Motown on Mondays party, which I know they have like franchised all over. But the Motown on Mondays LA kind of crew, like they've really stepped up with like green screens and visuals going on in the background,
Wow.
and
Mhm.
multiple camera angles, and like using video mixers to switch the angles. So it's like,
Right. Uh-huh.
even if you're not dancing along to the music, you can just sit there and watch what they're doing, and it's almost like watching like a performance, kind of like what I guess like what bands have been doing with when they play arenas, where they have like what's going on the screens, so they can hit like the nosebleed section. That's
Mhm.
kind of what I see a lot of DJs doing with like visual effects and stuff
Right.
on their live streams. So yeah, that's definitely something I'm looking into as well. Um, but yeah, I've talked to some other DJs, and like the thing with the freedom to play stuff that maybe you wouldn't want to take a chance on a dance floor. A lot of people have talked about that as well. Like there's kind of like this more freedom to stretch out and try things out, because you don't have like the pressure of maintaining a dance floor.
Right. But it also sounded like when I asked you that question, like you had some, you know, a couple different opinions
Well,
about
yeah,
live streaming.
yeah. I mean, so those are like the positives. I mean, honestly, like the difficulty is like trying to create a vibe
Mhm.
without actually having other people in the room with you.
Right.
And I know, just for me, as long as for as long as I've been DJing, my thing was always kind of like reading the
Right.
crowd, looking out, you know,
Mhm.
trying to pay attention to people's body language, who's dancing, who's not dancing, you know, what kind of tempos and rhythms are working, as opposed to what's not working. So it's really hard to get a read on that live streaming.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm not even so in that sense. I'm for me at least, it's kind of difficult, because I'm like, okay, how do I, bring in people and keep them watching and keep them tuning in.
And how do you monetize it?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like,
right?
Other than putting up Venmo links, it's difficult to monetize.
How do you monetize? I mean, like if you're single, you're you're putting up your live stream. I know Mixcloud now has live streaming where they don't shut you down because of, there's the copyright police or something like that. I think it's
Really? Okay.
I think it's $9.99 a month or something like that. And, it's really a platform for DJs.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool. But my thing is, it's just like, okay, if I'm going to do this, if I'm going to go live streaming, how am I making money off of this? How am I living off of this? If I'm like someone who my living is DJing.
Yeah.
How do I do this?
Yeah. Like I said,
right.
Well, with like the with the distant disco thing I had done, like the people who put it together, excuse me. Yeah, they had, they were, I guess like they had money where they were kind of like, paying me a fee. So it was almost like doing like a private party.
Right.
But yeah, in the long term, I can see, DJs of a certain level, a certain caliber, like, maybe like a Questlove or something like that, they can charge so you can watch, you have to pay to watch them.
Like a D-Nice or something, huh? Because he's killing it right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen some of his sets too.
Yeah.
That's the only I can see though, is like, eventually, if this goes on much longer, to charge. And then if you're going to start charging people to watch your streams, then you're really going to have to up your game visually and what you're putting out there musically. And so right now I see a lot of people jumping onto the whole live streaming DJ thing, but I think in the long run it's probably gonna it's gonna really narrow the field in the long term.
You said something really interesting, and I was kind of thinking the same thing. I haven't live streamed yet, right? Because I'm not sure about that yet, It's just like you said, is when you're behind the decks and you have people in front of you, you can sort of visualize, because that's what you're doing, what sort of set you want to put together, right? Just from the vibes that the crowd is giving you. So I was thinking with the live streaming thing, and you touched on this a little bit, it's just like, well, are you just going to have are you going to just be in front of your turntables and you're just playing? I kind of think that this is probably the time for DJs and maybe even like set designers or, other creative people to come together and sort of create a set around a live stream,
Yeah.
Just something not only for the ears, but also visually, that you can look at. I mean, be it digital art on the wall or something like that. Just something other than, listening to music and watching a DJ just go back and forth.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, my the Motown on Mondays crew from LA. What they're doing. Actually, a good friend of mine, DJ Expo, and he runs Motown on Mondays LA, but he's out in Austin, and he's working from a studio where he's got like a green screen set up, and so it's been fascinating to watch because he's really stepped it up with like the graphics and everything he's incorporating into his streams. Where, like I said, if you're not dancing, you've got something to watch,
right?
Because he created like visual loops of people dancing behind him, mixed in with like different kind of frames. Like he's got like a it looks like he's on a old school TV,
right?
And then there's like the visuals behind him, and then you got multiple camera angles on the turntables and what he's doing. So
and you gotta be creative.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, everyone's gonna, if you're gonna survive in this, you're gonna have to like really, really step it up.
You're gonna have to step it up. But check out this sort of like economics business model. So I think with Mixcloud and maybe even some other platforms, you can have individuals pay a fee to watch you stream.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Right. So, even with I think like even with like a YouTube channel, you can have a join button where individuals like make a little donation or something like that. With Mixcloud, you can do the same thing. So I think in that case, you can't just go completely crazy, charge someone $20 to watch you. But
Yeah.
imagine just charging someone $1. That's it. And you had 200 or 300 like people viewing, paying you $100. I mean, I'm sorry, $1. And you were
Yeah.
doing that 2 or 3 times a week. And then the crowd started, not the crowd, but your views started going up. And now you went from like 200 to 300 to 400 to, maybe even 1,000. I was listening to something where they were saying like Tekashi 6ix9ine, the rapper who just came out of jail.
Oh yeah.
He did a Instagram live and had like over 700,000.
What? Wow.
So,
700,000?
a D Nice, he may have like 20, 30, 40,000 people watching the stream. This guy had over 700,000.
Wow.
Imagine that.
Wow.
Like, you want to watch my live stream, you have to give me $1.
And and $1 is not a lot to pay.
It is not a lot to pay.
If you can hit enough people and get them out there to watch, yeah.
Right. I think in this whole, COVID lockdown thing, it's actually giving creative people like the ability to really think like outside the box and inside of the digital world to like, how can I monetize what I'm doing in the digital world? Like, how can I do this? What do you have planned? What are your plans? Like, I'm not quite sure. Now you're on the West Coast and I know that California is like, I guess this is the phase 1 opening.
Yeah, we're supposed to be doing. Yeah, it's supposed to be like phase 1, kind of like beaches are reopening, and then like curbside pickup for some stores are opening up again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like I said, I don't see clubs or anything coming back because I know that's the last. That's like the last phase. I think is like clubs and live concerts and stuff.
Right.
So,
Mm-hmm.
and that's not supposed to be till sometime in 2021.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just imagine how that sounds. 2021. Clubs are like, I think clubs, there's a really big one out here in DC. It's called Echo Stage. It's huge, right? And it's just, I mean, if you were able to open, I think that now the insurance companies are going to say, well, wait a minute, we're going to have to up your insurance, right? Right.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, I that's one thing that I'm always concerned about is that I don't see a lot of venues making it through this. And even if they do make it through it, it's like they're not going to be able to bring in enough people where, it's for them, it'll be, worth it financially to try to do events or, bring in DJs or anything like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, some venues are backed by like, corporate things like Live Nation or Golden Voice. I can see them kind of making it through because they have, bigger corporate backing. But yeah, I think all the small venues are pretty much done. Yeah. That's kind of a pessimistic thing to say, but.
So when you say done, like not coming back.
Yeah, I think they're not coming back. I think a lot of them aren't coming back. So I think DJing wise, I think things will be digital for a while.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is, and like I said, watching what Motown Mondays has done and watching what other people have done, I'm always thinking, okay, what's the next thing I can do where can I fit into that?
Right.
So yeah, definitely upping the visuals game and, just trying to present something where people want to tune in.
Right. It's just,
it's almost, you almost have to think of yourself like a TV show now where you gotta get people watching and get, and present them with something different all the time. And
you got to think about it as like, this is how I've been thinking about it. Like as an art gallery. So you're putting an exhibit together and, every exhibit is brand new, so what is it that's going to be different about this exhibit? Every time you live stream, excuse me, there should be something totally different visually, just sonically, every single thing. You're creating a totally new experience every time you go live. That's where that's where DJs, that's the direction they have to go. Yeah. Where we have to go.
Yeah.
You just can't DJ like live stream and, just like, hey guys, check me out. I'm spinning, vinyl or wax or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Like I said, everyone's going to have to up their game. And that's always in the back of my mind, and that's something I'm always looking into as well. Like, I'm looking to right now, like acquiring, better cameras, how to, I've been looking at like, OBS and like all these different programs that people are using to
Right.
incorporate different camera angles and how to get like the back, the different kind of backgrounds. And
Mm-hmm.
because that's the only way to really be competitive in this right now. And
Right.
especially because so many people have kind of like jumped onto live streaming, where people who weren't even DJs before now have all bought up live streaming gear. Because I know a few weeks ago I was looking for like an iRig for something, and they were all sold out everywhere. And I'm like, wait a minute, why is this sold out everywhere now? Because now everyone's in their bedroom and everyone's gonna become
Oh
a
my
bedroom DJ.
goodness.
So like
Listen.
you got to, yeah, it feels like in a way it's like starting over from scratch, where
Yeah.
it's like, okay, how do I separate myself from everybody else that says this is what they do, versus taking it to the next level where you can tell someone's serious about what they're doing and what they're presenting.
You know what's weird is you cannot find anything. I mean, if you're looking for boom mic arms, any of the Black Magic gear, Elgato, Camlink 4K, forget about it. You can't find anything. I think that has a lot to do with a lot of it's made in China, so
Okay, yeah,
so it's just like, hey, that whole sort of import export thing still isn't working that well. And, when they were on lockdown, all the factories closed, so
yeah.
because I was thinking the same thing. I was just like, I was looking at OBS. I'm not quite sure if I'm a fan of OBS just yet. There's something else. I mean, if you're a Mac user, you may want to look at something called Ecamm Live.
Oh, okay, Ecamm Live. All
Yeah,
right.
Ecamm Live with 2 M's. I use their trial, and I'm just like, oh, this is really cool. But the other thing about and the other thing about streaming is, how do you get 4K? I mean, because right now we're using our cameras. Even with a Zoom call, they're only recording HD. They're not recording 4K.
Yeah.
So my whole thing is, I've been really waiting for this thing called a Blackmagic A10 Mini Pro, which gives you the ability to use multi-view, up to 4 different camera shots. And, you can go
Oh,
back and
wow.
forth, and they use, like, it's a professional sort of company that, creates professional broadcasting gear and also software, but they brought all that down into like a consumer size. So you
Oh,
still get the
okay.
professional broadcasting software, but now you have this little small mini box that is just completely powerful. It's out, but it's not available because nothing's
Yeah.
available, right?
Yeah, it seems like
Oh.
everyone decided to be like a DJ or, excuse me, have a podcast.
Mhm.
So yeah, yeah, I've noticed that all the gear is like kind of gone at the moment.
It's gone. I think podcasting would be, I think that's pretty cool. It's pretty simple. Um, and I think like the mass appeal you can generate from that, it's definitely a lot quicker than, a YouTube channel or something like that.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, YouTube views are like, I think I was reading someplace on Yahoo, they were saying like it's, YouTube views are up 60%. So if you were really interested in trying to start a new YouTube channel, this is probably the greatest time to do so, right?
Yeah. Actually, another friend of mine was telling me, oh, you should start a YouTube channel, because she just started one where she reviews horror books.
Oh,
And like,
that's really niche-y.
yeah,
That's cool.
yeah, and like, she like, reviews them, and then sometimes she'll like kind of create kind of like, different like vignettes based on scenes from the books and act them out for her
Right.
channel. And she, she's got really great production value too, with like, the hair, makeup, everything. And yeah, her channel's just like exploding right now. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm like, she's like, yeah, she's like, you should do a channel. I'm like, I don't even know what I would do. I guess, records, but I feel like there's so many people who do music on YouTube. But yeah, that's another, something else to think about too. YouTube channels and
YouTube channels, huh? You have a lot of interesting vinyl that people just don't even understand. You can really, really touch on that as well.
yeah, it's something I thought about, because like I watch her channel and I'm like, okay, maybe I could do this with vinyl, but then I always feel like there's so many people around the world that have this, but then again, it's probably, I gotta probably think about more like my kind of my part of the planet, and rather than like thinking worldwide. Because I'm like, yeah, I have rare records from other places in the world where to them it's just probably super common, but
yeah.
but I probably shouldn't let that deter me.
Exactly.
But yeah.
Well, listen, this has been really cool, man. Just chatting with you. I really appreciate you, just taking the opportunity to like, just log on and just have a little chat, during this whole lockdown.
Yeah.
Thing,
No, thank you. Yeah, it's been great. Yeah. Been great conversation.
This is DJ Soft Touch. How can like, tell everyone how they can get in contact with you?
Yeah, you can find me. I have a website, cliftonweaver.com. You can also find me on Instagram and Twitter, Clifton1775.
1775.
That's one F in Clifton. Yeah.
There we go. Well, listen, I appreciate everything, and thank you, and you be safe, and hopefully I'll see you on YouTube with your YouTube channel.
Yeah. Who knows? Yeah, I'll have a YouTube channel or maybe Twitch or something like that.
Well, listen, if you do, just like ring me up and, I'll take a look at it and, maybe we can get something going.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. Thanks a lot, man. You have a good one.
All right. You too. Take care. Thanks.
All right. Thanks.